Tonight on West Dakota Fox News at 9, massive floods ravage the Midwest. Plus, surprising new stats about America's gun ownership. But first, cracking the code of the North Dakota primaries, what the numbers mean for November.
This is West Dakota Fox News at 9 with Molly Martinez and meteorologist Henry Blakes. Your first news of the night starts right now on West Dakota Fox News at 9.
Good evening, I'm Molly Martinez. Our top story tonight, the battle for North Dakota's lone House seat. An exclusive statewide poll by West Dakota Fox and Mason-Dixon polling shows that not even a week after North Dakota's primary, the race for the U.S. House will likely be decided by the undecided. The statewide poll shows Kelly Armstrong holding a double-digit lead over Max Schneider, but an even larger percentage haven't made up their mind. When you look at the overall state, Republican Armstrong stands at 46%, Schneider at 35%, but if you look at the undecided here, 19%. For Eastern North Dakota, Armstrong is at 43%, Schneider is at 36%, and 21 say they're still not sure. For the West, not much of a change, Armstrong at 56%, Schneider at 26%, and undecided at 18%. Our other top story tonight, haunting images of children separated from their parents at the southern U.S. border. Now, lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are weighing in. William Lejeunesse reports.
We are going to end catch and release.
From the campaign trail to the Oval Office, Trump's rhetoric on immigration always seemed like a winner, but now even his supporters say he's gone too far.
No one wants to see families separated. I think President Trump said he doesn't want to see families separated.
See or hear. Most Republicans support Trump in reforming asylum laws and increasing interior enforcement. But when it comes to actually ending catch and release, which in this case means separating and detaining children apart from their parents, pictures and sound of them crying out is political dynamite.
I have not talked to a single person who's looked at those images and said, well, it's necessary. That's the only way we're going to succeed in, slowing down the inflow of immigrants.
Republicans, even immigration hawks who've complained for years about lax enforcement, abandon the president on this issue.
We have zero tolerance for anything that separates families, right? And so clearly Utah has strong feelings about this.
This practice that is happening currently at the border is inhumane, and we wish that it is stopped.
More than 10,000 clergy signed a letter urging the White House to back down. The Church of Latter-day Saints said they are deeply troubled by the zero-tolerance policy. Across the country, rallies against Trump. The governors of Massachusetts and New York will no longer send their National Guard to the border. Today, the governor of Virginia recalled his. Utah's governor called the policy inhumane, while in Colorado, no state funds can be used to shelter immigrants.
The amount of trauma that these people have endured is unspeakable.
Members of our congressional delegation are weighing in on the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy. It's estimated that some 2,000 children have been taken from their parents since the policy took effect, and 60 more children are added to that growing number each day. Here's what Senator John Hoeven had to say about it.
We need to enforce our law at the border so we have border security, but we also want to keep families together.
Other members of our delegation have strong opinions on the matter. Representative Kevin Cramer is backing Trump, saying he and the president are focused on our borders.
I think there's a lot of over-dramatization if you want to know the truth, but I would say this. North Dakotans are most concerned about safety and security at our borders.
The House is considering two pieces of immigration legislation this week. Cramer is signed onto a more hardline bill. Senator Heidi Heitkamp has come out adamantly opposed to it. She recently signed onto a Senate bill aiming to keep migrant families together. She said on a Facebook there should be consequences for coming here illegally, but that doesn't mean foregoing mercy. The U.S. ambassador to the United States says the United States is withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council. In part, Nikki Haley says regimes known for abusing human rights continue to serve on the council. She adds that calls to reform were not met by that council.
This step is not a retreat from human rights commitments. On the contrary, we take this step because our commitment does not allow us to remain a part of a hypocritical and self-serving organization that makes a mockery of human rights.
The announcement comes one day after the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights spoke out against the separation of children at the Mexican border. Also in Washington, today, the Trump administration is slapping another round of billion-dollar tariffs on our international trade partners, upping the ante in what could spell out a trade war. The president calling for $200 billion in new punitive tariffs against China. The trade office has yet to identify the Chinese goods being penalized. China responded sharply, calling the new round of tariffs, quote, blackmail. In local politics, Mandan City Commissioner Shauna Labor, who was voted out of office by a narrow margin last week, could have demanded a recount. But she announced today that even though a recount would have only cost the city about $200, she says she believes the vote count was accurate and will accept the results. Labor served on the commission for 4 years. Okay, time now is 9:06. Let's take our first check on weather with meteorologist Henry Blakes.
Hey, well,
thanks, Henry. A Bismarck woman is accused of stabbing her boyfriend Sunday. Prosecutors charged 22-year-old Layla Winshik with aggravated assault with a dangerous weapon. Police say the victim first told emergency room staff that Winshik stabbed him in the chest during an argument, but when officers arrived, he changed his story, saying he didn't want her to go to jail. Bismarck police say they found a possible drunk driver passed out behind the wheel Monday morning. They say 25-year-old Ryan Azur initially obeyed their orders to turn off the car by the Exxon station on South Washington. But then they say he quickly turned the car back on and peeled out. They later found the car by East Arbor Avenue, where Azur got out and ran. They found him hiding in the bed of a pickup truck. He faces several charges. The Highway Patrol is releasing the name of the forklift operator hit and killed yesterday on Highway 15 near Thompson. He was 61-year-old Juan Contreras of Grand Forks. Earlier this month, a 10-year-old girl was hit and killed by a jet ski on Strawberry Lake. Now the Game and Fish Department is reminding people how to stay safe while they're on a watercraft. Maddie Gelseth has the story.
Recognize me. Can we pull alongside you guys and check your licenses?
The Game and Fish Department monitors a lot of outdoor recreational activities. Staying safe is a game warden's top priority while out on patrol.
It's good to have a presence out here to, in part, to keep everybody on their toes a little more as far as driving and being careful, but it's certainly a good idea in terms of the drinking and driving portion.
The game warden says over the years, he believes his presence on the river has made a difference.
Main thing is just be aware of the navigation rules and regulations, and when you're in those congested areas, just slow down and be patient and take your time.
Whenever you go out on the water, you should always have a personal flotation device such as this life jacket.
If we do stop a boat, then we'll do a safety check, make sure they're compliant with having life jackets and all the other, maybe fire extinguisher or the different safety equipment that the boat's required to have on it.
ERG says by enforcing boating laws, they're keeping the public safe.
The high water on the Missouri River makes for smooth sailings for boaters this summer, but the Army Corps of Engineers says many sandbars with active piping, plover, and interior lest turn nests are closed for recreational use during the nesting season, which runs through August. It says the closures are necessary in order to protect the nests and chicks and increase the population of the threatened and endangered birds. Well, coming up with plans for possible drought conditions at Lake Sakakawea and Audubon, U.S. Army Corps officials are also monitoring high levels of water coming out of the Garrison Dam this year. The Snake River embankment sits below Highway 83, where it runs between Lake Sakakawea and Audubon. During drought conditions, Sakakawea tends to get lower than Audubon, and the pressure mounts against the embankment. That's why Corps officials want to put in permanent restrictions. So if Sakakawea is more than 43 feet lower than Audubon, they can release water onto the lower lake.
We're doing our best to make sure that we maintain the infrastructure, not just for the period of the drought, which will be tight for everybody, but we want to make sure we do everything we can to ensure the safety of the embankment.
However, drought conditions aren't the worry this year. Tomorrow, an additional 8,000 cubic feet per second of water will be released by the Corps from the Garrison Dam, bringing releases to 52,000 CFS. Minor flood stage is 14.5 feet, and with the new releases, levels are expected to hit about 12 feet. And officials say they're not worried about the additional releases.
Going to be pretty close to where we want to be. You know, if we had another major rain event, we may have to adjust releases, but I just don't see a significant increase.
Lindquist says the only concerns at this point are soil erosions on the banks. The Ward County Commissioners rejected a bid to move and raise homes on Rice Lake at risk of flooding after the bid came in more than $500,000 over budget. The project was originally estimated to cost $1.29 million, and FEMA agreed to pay 75% of the estimated budget. This left homeowners to foot the final $300,000. However, with the bid coming in at $1.82 million, the cost to homeowners would more than double. It was recommended the commission reject this bid so homeowners could explore different options.
There's another grant out there that's a reconstruct grant. That's where FEMA would come in and tear this house down and build a different structure, probably about the same square footage.
Hargrave added the final option would be a bow out to the FEMA agreement entirely, making each individual homeowner responsible for moving, raising, and reconstructing their property. After the break, some surprising stats on gun ownership in America and how we fare compared to the rest of the world. Some are calling it fighting fire with fire, but a new push is hoping to tackle the opioid crisis by swapping out prescription pills with medical marijuana. Reporter Linda Schmidt reports.
New York and the country are in the middle of an opioid epidemic. New York State Health Commissioner believes medical marijuana could be part of the cure.
If someone is taking prescription opioids to get them off prescription opioids, this would be one of the options.
The health commissioner wants doctors to be able to prescribe medical marijuana to patients instead of opioids. In addition, people who are addicted to prescription opioids could be weaned off using medical marijuana. Dr. Robert Duarte is the director of Northwell Health's Pain Center on Long Island.
We have found that the use of medical marijuana has actually reduced significantly the use of opiates in these patients.
Dr. Holly Lofton is an internist.
And looking at states who have medical marijuana programs, and they've been able to see decreases in opioid-related overdoses as well as opioid-related deaths and addiction cases.
No word yet on when doctors will be able to prescribe medical marijuana instead of opioids. And as for insurance coverage, well, insurance companies don't cover medical marijuana.
Trending tonight, new numbers show 46% of the world's firearms are owned by Americans. Over 1 billion firearms exist today, with more than 850 million in the hands of American civilians. That's more than 25 other countries combined. Heavy rain in Wisconsin created a spectacle. This is Big Manitou Falls in Pattison Park, just south of Superior. Water came roaring down the falls as it worked its way into the Black River. Although onlookers say they're amazed by the view of the falls, many are worried about flooding in other parts of the area. And Illinois is getting their fair share of flooding too. Cars were flipped into the floodwaters outside Rockford. Low-lying areas were all waterlogged after days of heavy rains. Rescue crews tell us they've been working overtime to free stranded drivers and clear overwhelmed drains. All right, do we have any wet weather coming our way, Henry?
We'll see.
Today, the Roosevelt Park Zoo in Minot began construction of its brand new Big Cat exhibit. Megan Von Baron reports from today's groundbreaking.
The Roosevelt Park Zoo houses many different animals from all around the world. And right in the center, you'll find the big cats. The cat's current exhibit was built in 1975, one of the oldest at the zoo. An invitation for Connie Ahart and Clint Severson to take a behind-the-scenes tour of the zoo helped make a new exhibit for the cats a reality.
We were already enjoying the zoo, but once we got to see all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and the enthusiasm of all the people that work here, all the zookeepers, the training that they are doing for these animals, and the time that they take, you couldn't help but catch their spirit.
Thanks to the generous $1 million donation, the tigers will have an exhibit that only 5 other zoos in the nation have.
For their animal welfare, this project is going to be very impactful for their overall wellness. In one aspect, we're going to have a lot of complexity of their environment, so they will have just a lot more room. Both of these projects are being built species specific for those two different animals so that we can have a lion be a lion and a tiger be a tiger.
These exhibits are aimed at not only improving the animals' quality of life, but also educating the community.
It's important for people to understand the value of animals. When people take good care of animals, they tend to take good care of other people. They tend to take care of lots of other things.
Bringing the big cats of Minot into the 21st century. In Minot for West Dakota Fox News at 9, I'm Megan Von Barron.
Speaking of animals, more than 2,700 stuffed animals were donated through Gate City Bank, both in Fargo and in Bismarck. The stuffed animals will now be used to comfort children across the community.
Just being able to help them a little bit, give them a little something, show them that we're not just there for a bad thing. We can also be there to do something good for them. That is so important.
Flatton says she started giving out officers the stuffed animals so they can carry them in their cars and in their briefcases. Still ahead, you'll never guess what a guy with a gun face tattoo is accused of doing. That story next. A man arrested for unlawful possession of a firearm seems to have had the crime written across his face. Take a look. Michael Vine sporting a gun tattoo smack dab in the middle of his face. Vine was involved in a car accident and proceeded to toss a loaded revolver into the grass, but firefighters on the scene saw him do it and told police he was charged with unlawful possession of a firearm. Okay, over to a man who has no incriminating tattoos, meteorologist Henry Blakes.
Hey, thank you. We got sunshine for the north as we wake up on our, what's tomorrow, Molly? Tomorrow is Wednesday, right?
You should have said Friday.
Friday, yeah. I wish it was Friday. That would be great. But yes, here's your Wednesday morning forecast. We'll start out in the 50s, light wind, so wind won't be a problem. But by the afternoon, we will be topping out near 80 degrees in most areas. Once again, light north wind, summer for Thursday. And then the weekend, just prepare for some scattered showers and thunderstorms.
All right, Henry and I are going to go get our matching face tattoos. We'll see you tomorrow.